Yeah. So yeah, we're recording this session, and then we will put this up on the Exchange Labs YouTube channel. There's a link in the invite now near the top. So if you're wondering where that is, all these sprint reviews are recorded mostly and without much further ado, just take it away.
Okay. Welcome to our Sprint 18 review. You can see we called it A-Team. We've swapped from naming our sprints after movies because we got all the way to the letter Z. We're now naming them after TV shows. This is our first TV show sprint. This is our burn down chart. I know we've got a lot of stuff in PR right now, so I imagine this will go down before the end of the day as well. I'm just gonna do a quick update on some of the traffic that we've experienced on the sites over the last 3 weeks. So for BCMI, pretty standard traffic levels, anywhere between maybe 50 and 200 page views. In particular on BCMI over the past 3 weeks, people are going to Sullivan Mine and looking on the other documents tab. So looking for things like annual reclamation reports or mine safety or mine emergency plans, that type of stuff. On Epic, again, similar traffic levels as usual, anywhere from about 150 to 500 page views. Coastal GasLink was a popular project over the past 3 weeks, as well as the search help. And I don't know if that was just because I know we as a team were clicking it while we were doing some of the work on the documents. So that might have influenced that search help button.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of researcher bias in our own data.
It's hard to take it out with everybody working from home too. So LNG, looks like we got a little bit more traffic than usual on this site. And I noticed that most people are getting to this site via one of the government websites or Google or a direct link to LNG. And then for NRCED, probably similar traffic levels, anywhere from say like about 20 to 80 page views a day. And about 4% of the page views are coming from one of those government websites. It's the National Resource Compliance and Enforcement Reporting page. So that's where a lot of traffic is, or not a lot of traffic, but 4% of the traffic is coming from.
I'm disappointed in the drop off on weekends. I mean, people have more free time on weekends. They should be, doing more searches, right?
Yeah, why aren't they going to these government websites?
With their free time, yeah, right?
Okay, so our goals last sprint. So our goals last sprint, we were going to create 4 new roles in NRPTI for publishing to NRCED. We actually did those 4 roles and the addition of the Natural Resource Officer role. So we ended up doing 5 of them. We also completed our last CSV imports for publishing records to NRCED. So that's the Natural Resource Officer tickets and the ALC inspections. And our final goal was making some updates to the LNG site map. That's still in progress, although I think it's almost done, it seems like. So this one I think will wrap up either today or tomorrow. And I'm going to dive right into the demo. We've got a lot of stuff to demo today. So I'm going to pass it off to the team. Maybe we'll pass it off. We can go in order here. We'll start with Daniel, if you want to start it off.
Sure. Let's see. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
All right. So I've been spending most of my time this sprint revising our tables. There's quite a lot of bugs, at least on Eagle Public. So I've been focusing on fixing up those bugs on Eagle Public. I ended up reusing code from NRPTI's table template, and I brought it over to Eagle. And hopefully one day we'll be able to publish this table template as a package that can be consumed by all our other projects easily. Right now it's more of a copy paste, but I'm hoping it'll be just like a quick install and then you're good to go. But I've been doing tweaks to that just to make sure that that will be possible in the future. I'm currently in the test environment, and there's still little oddities, so it's still a work in progress. Right now, pagination should work as intended. You can increase how many items are on a page. You can easily search ministers, for example, and other tables I've worked on, documents, applications, and certificates. Now these pages, specifically documents, have something special. It's got the advanced filters, and I've been revising this quite a lot. I'll show you prod. So this is the original filters, and let's see if I can get stuff to happen in the original one. So I'll add a couple things in there. I don't know. Let's just make that today. Search, and it should allow you to jump like that. So I've copied that functionality over. Let's just make that today. And right here, you can see things update as you click through. Let's just set to letters, and that should be good. Now, I've spent a lot of time setting up this URL, this huge URL, but the idea behind that is if I copy this over and say I send it over to someone else, it should just load everything as is. So all your filters and the table, all the sorting should be exactly the same. And you can carry on. Oh, I want to look up nation, and it'll search within that. So I noticed there was a kind of an issue with doing that in the original prod, or the sorry, the one that's in prod right now. So let's just set that and then put page 3 or something. Copy that over and go to here. And now sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We should be on page 3, and we're not. And when I paginate through, it'll have a whole list of 81 pages. So passing over links didn't really work the way I wanted it to. So spent some time fixing that, and I'm hoping that will be helpful. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Hopefully, if you use the table, you won't notice any difference with, or at least you wouldn't notice anything weird. There's a couple weird things that just in prod that I didn't like, so clean that up. Yeah, that's it for me, really. I don't know who's next.
Thanks, Daniel. So I had roles down next. Morgan, if you want to show off the new roles we did.
All right, I'll take over screen share. Daniel, stop. So as Jessica mentioned, we have quite a few new roles we added this sprint. We've kind of streamlined a lot of the components around adding role-based access, so it's getting quite a bit easier to add these roles. Which is this one. So right now we're viewing the Keycloak screen that lets you add roles to users. So you can see we've got quite a few roles in the system now. Some of them are more admin than other roles. So some of these, like agriculture, the one I have assigned right now, ALC, they're limited admin roles. They can only see stuff they create or that has public read or the ALC role in their read for that, say, record or document. Whereas BCMI, LNG, NRCED, they tend to be able to see a lot more of the website and records, and then sysadmin, which gets everything. So right now, I've just assigned myself one of the new roles. So I am now a ALC admin user. So when I log into the NRPTI website, I'll refresh to show. Refresh grabs a fresh token from Keycloak, which includes just a little string somewhere that says your admin ALC. So our interface will check that. So right now we can't see the all mines because ALC doesn't have permission to see the mines page. On the imports page, we don't have any of the import from our other source system buttons. We've got source system ALC, and they just get one CSV type to import. Back over on the all records page, we set up a few sample records. And so you can see here, we've got some with personal names, some with company names. We've got, say, a ticket from agriculture. That must be a young person because we can't see that name. Currently, we don't redact names between these different sectors for adults. That's something we're working on, I think, currently. So if I go into this role, I can see everything about it. If I go to add a new role, a lot of these new roles we've been adding just have the compliance and enforcement record types. One of the new ones, I believe, ENV EPD also includes the permit record type. So this is just a short list based on what role, what your role has access to. And if we pop over to the public site for NRPTI, we can see some of these names are getting redacted. So we don't see an issue 2 here. If we searched on it, which we shouldn't get this result, if we search for it, the name specifically. And if I switch roles, say I become the EPD role now, and I refresh, that refresh grabs the fresh token, which now says so now EPD doesn't have access to any imports. Currently, we only allow them to manually add records via the add record button. So as soon as that page is refreshed and we get a new token, the UI updates, and we do research for ALC role again. Now we can see more of these records are blacked out from issue 2. You can see some test EPD role. We can only edit these EPD role tickets, and same for any of the other ones. So ALC can only edit their records. So that is also controlled by our role-based access. And again, we can see we now have permit in addition to the other compliance and enforcement record types. And that's it for really the main functionality of these roles. There's some more specifics, but it's mostly around redaction and some ongoing work to ensure certain fields are hidden from other roles.
Awesome. Thanks, Morgan. All right, so Max, do you want to demo the 2 new CSV importers?
Sure. So yeah, as Jess mentioned before, we finished our last CSV imports this sprint. So that's ALC, ERA, and CMDB is also new. I'm not sure if you guys saw that one last sprint. But yeah, you guys have seen the imports before, so I'm just going to go through the ERA one. So yeah, so we're again, we're checking the headers to make sure they're all correct and that the fields that need to be have data in them. So region isn't one of them, so we can have blanks here. Yes, so as an admin user, I'd come in here and upload my CSV and then click start job and wait for this to update. Okay, so then we can go to the records page and search on source system. So this is the one we just did. We can see our 38 records here. And these will be automatically published to NRPTI as well, or NRCED. And yeah, like individual names will be redacted and stuff then. yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else to show, but yeah, it's kind of it. Any questions?
Thanks, Max.
Sure.
I think it's important to note that a lot of those CSV imports are coming from data from older legacy systems. And this is sort of the best way to get them into our system for publishing to NRCED right away.
Super cool.
Yeah.
All right, Neil, do you want to go next with the NRCED enhancements?
Yeah, sure. All right. So for the sprint, we added a couple NRCED enhancements to the NRCED website. First one being we are able to now export the data on the user have searched to a CSV file. So as a member of the public, when I come onto NRCED and I do searches and filters on the records on NRCED, I may want to export what I see on the screen to a CSV file, and then I could use that CSV file for other things I want to do. So once I do a search, either through the keywords or through the advanced filters here, where I'll see a new button here that says export to CSV. So just as a test, I'm going to enter the keyword test. And now you see there are 28 results on here. And also you see now the export buttons showing. So when I click on export button, you'll take all 28 results and export them to a CSV file. It doesn't matter if I'm only seeing 25 on the first page right now. You'll take all those pages and stuff them into a CSV file and download them. I'll just download that. So that was really quick because I only got 28 records, so it was very fast export. And I open the CSV file here. There are total 28 records. It says 29 rows because the first one's the header, so +1. And all the columns you see on here are what you will see on the website. And so there are, if the names are supposed to be redacted, they're also redacted in here. And everything else here is exactly what you see on the website itself. One thing to note, we do now, all the different record types, they have different sort of fields. So if one of these rows is a record type that doesn't have one of the fields, then we just leave it empty. For example, the offense here, not every record type have offense. So when it doesn't, we just leave the field empty. And this way we can have a consistent sort of format for all the different record types. And just to show you what happens when I have a lot of records, as I said, you'll take how many search results you have total and still export them to a CSV. So I'm going to reset my search. You can see when I reset my search, the button goes away. And as I said, this button only shows up once the user has made a search, either through the keywords or through the advanced filters. So say, if, for example, I want to export everything that has been issued to a company, I select that and I click my button again. And you can see there are 25,021 total results. And this one would take a few seconds longer than the previous one to export because there are just so many records. And when I click on it, I get a spinning action to let the user know it's still working in the background. Just please wait. And now it's done. I open my file just to verify there are indeed 25,021 total records. And yes, there is.
Nice.
Yep. And yeah, so that is it. And also one thing to note, the export also respects the sort order that has been selected here as well. So for example, right now it's sorted by date issued. Let me just look back on the file. So issue on this column here, as you can see, it's all in a descending order, just same as what you have seen on the website itself. Yep, so that was the CSV export function. And one other minor thing we added is for records that are belonging to either the LNG project or the Coastal GasLink project, we created a link just to the project site itself. So for example, now we're looking at one of the LNG projects. It just in the past, this would just be a blank, just text, so you can't do anything with it. But now, when we detect it's either LNG project or a Coastal GasLink project, we make that text into a link, so the user can just simply click on it and it'll take you to their project pages themselves. And yeah, that is my demo for the enhancements we made to the NRCED website. Are there any questions?
It's fantastic, Neil. Well done. I'm curious how you were able to overcome the you know, the limit, like the 5,000 record limit we were concerned about.
Yeah, so your comment on the GRT gave me an idea of just splitting up the requests into multiple requests. So I basically just do what we do for the pagination, just download them in chunks and then merge them into one big file.
Oh, that's great. That's better than you know, breaking it up into multiple files, which I kind of figured was the only thing we could do. That's
Yep.
awesome that you were able to get it into like a single file.
And Neil, how do you handle when there is an attachment?
Currently, there are no attachment in there because, for example, any records that has in document, we don't actually know ahead of time. We only know the ID of the records, but we don't actually get the link of the attachment until the user clicks on the record on the website. If that's something we need to do, we'll have to adjust it and modify it to do that.
Neil, there's also a question from Matt Hall in the chat, asks, how do you deal with CSV/Excel date formats?
For dates, we just format it in the YYY MMM DD date. So I parse it in, and then I export it all in the same format. So in YYY, in that format.
So I was noticing when you were looking at the export, the format wasn't in that format.
Yes.
Sorted in that way. So I was curious how you managed to make that happen.
Yeah, so that's something Excel is doing in the background. If you open that file in Notepad, you'll see it's in actually the format I typed in. But when you open Excel, Excel will display it in whatever format you want to display it in.
Great. Okay. Cool.
Great. Thanks, Neil.
No problem.
All right, our last demo is from Cam on the LNG map updates.
Okay.
We have a lot to demo today, so hang in there, guys. We might run a little late.
Can you guys see this?
Fun. I'm gonna have to leave, but this is so much fun. Keep going.
So actually, I think a lot of these changes have been out for a while, but they were never demoed. So I'm just going to go through all of them now. So firstly, all of the pipeline segments have alternating colors on them just to improve readability a bit. They're also all labeled with the segment number. These segments aren't interactable yet, and they're just placed at the geographic center between the facilities, but maybe we can add more to that later. Also, all the segments are a lot easier to click. We improved the click buffer around them. I think before you had to be right on top of the pipe segment in order to click on it, but now if you get kind of close, it'll register, which makes them a lot easier to click. And also the facilities will take priority if you're close, they're on top. So they're also easier to click because they're even smaller than those pipeline segments. The mini map, this is new, in the bottom corner here, because when you load up the screen, you can't actually see. If I zoom in here, there's the facility in Kitimat. You're never going to know it's there unless you already knew it was there before you even open up the page. So this mini map just shows where it is. And if you click anywhere on the mini map, it'll fly you right in to the facility. And lastly, each of the pipeline segments now, if you click on it, will show a little pop-up with some information. This information comes from the admin side and is populated there. I just threw in some dummy text here to show what it would look like if an admin wanted to put in an update on that segment. So each segment has its own populable pop-up there. And those are the changes on the LNG side. That's it.
Pretty.
And those pop-ups, yeah, they'll be configured on the admin side. So I think Darren is going to go in and put in recent updates when we have that completed, and then users get a little bit more information there.
That's super cool. We should figure out how to show that more broadly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe coordinate with Darren if he's got a stakeholder group or something that he wants us to present that to, or that he wants to promote it with.
Sure, yeah. Okay, thanks, Cam.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to share my screen again. Yeah, we did a lot of work this last sprint and spanned all of our products almost, which is pretty cool. So some other work that we did is we were looking into the NRIS web service EMLI endpoint, as well as the getting some Oracle proxy accounts set up for the some legacy systems. Big thanks to Michelle and Kristen. I think Michelle was on the call, but big thanks to you guys for helping us with that. And that's ongoing right now. We also retired mines.empr. So that old BCMI site is no longer around. That has been retired. We currently have a redirect set up. So if users try to go to mines.empr, it's going to redirect them to mines.nrs. But the mine.empr site is going to go away at the end of March because that's when its certificate expires.
Woo!
Yeah, so one site, one public facing BCMI.
Hey man, that's 2 legacy sites replaced by our 2 teams in this fiscal year. That's more than a lot of teams can say.
Yeah. We also did a bunch of bug fixes. We did the migration of Apparetto to Kubernetes for the network policy, which was required since they are moving away from Apparetto. We also did a bunch of time zone updates on our CSV importers because we're pulling in things and displaying things, and time zones are getting confused. So we're sorting out those issues as well. I wanted to go through some success criteria for us. So as you guys have seen in previous demos, we have this list of all the different natural resource sector compliance and enforcement actions that we're trying to get into the system. I know this list is not extensive, as Kyle will mention. There's probably some new things that we're just discovering as you go, but this is sort of what we committed to at the beginning. And so in this last sprint, we got 13 new C&E actions that are available to be published to NRCED now, which includes onboarding of 5 new business areas, and more than 1,000 new records can now be published annually. So I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, that's it's gonna enable us to have more proactive disclosure and more transparency on the site. That's awesome. And
I think that more than 1,000 records number, I think it's actually much higher than that. It's more like closer to 10,000.
Yeah, and this is just this last sprint too, and I think a lot of them were unknown, so I didn't calculate those. So I think it's a lot more records. So just a comparison between last sprint and where we are now, kind of on that chart, is this was last sprint. We were had a lot in progress and 50% done, and this is strictly for the NRCED C&E work. We're now at 86% done, and we've got just a little bit left to do for those, so getting those C&E records into NRPTI and published to NRCED.
Damn.
Yeah, this is a fun chart to find yesterday.
That's incredible, guys. That's great.
Yeah. I've updated this chart that we had as well, showing the different methods that we're getting the imports from. So we've got 8 different automated C&E actions, a bunch of CSV imports, and then the creation of those manual roles actually enabled us we can now upload 14 different C&E actions. And that's each of those business areas can do it themselves. So we're enabling them to come into the system, upload their records, and publish them without Kyle or somebody else having to do it for them. Kyle, I saw some of your Metabase reports to show the different types of records. So Kyle's created some great dashboards for NRCED. And I just wanted to kind of show everybody them of the different types of records and how we are spanning across sort of the entire natural resource sector. So we're pulling all sorts of data for compliance and enforcement into NRCED. I think we're going to be publishing one of these, probably this one, onto the NRCED website, hopefully in this next sprint, just to give the public a better idea of what they can find on the site. If anybody's interested to see more reports, we can share out some of the Metabase charts as well. And then upcoming, so what we're going to be working on for the next 3 weeks, we've got 2 more roles to do. That's the conservation officer role, and then the environmental or Ministry of Environment BC Parks role. So 2 more roles. We are also going to attempt to automate the import of the EMLI inspection data from NRES. This is that one last to do piece of the CNE actions is the EMLI records. And we're hoping to make that an automated connection. We're also going to be testing out the FME process for automating some of the current data imports that we have. And finally, we're doing some work on Epic for the project notifications. There are some requests for being able to upload more than 2 documents. So we're going to be working on that this next sprint. Any questions from anybody? All right, 3 minutes over, not too bad. Thanks everyone for attending, and thanks to the team for demoing and all the work this last sprint.
Yeah, thanks guys. What a great sprint.
Mhm.
Thanks, everyone.